Have you all got emails or SMSs from your banks, merchants, companies like Google, Netflix, etc., to add another authentication layer for recurring payments? Basically, all the auto pay instructions will need one more layer of authentication as mandated by the Reserve Bank of India. It's the first time in the world that anything like this is being tried out. So whether it is for your OTT platform subscriptions, for a newsletter, for SIPs, mutual funds, all of that. I'm going to be discussing this and more with Razorpay's co-founder Shashank. Why have I got Shashank today on the show? Because they've actually developed a technology to try and help consumers as well as merchants with this. Shashank, welcome to ET Now. Tell us about this technology that you folks have built, which will help the banks, it's going to help the merchants, even the likes of Google, etc., and of course the consumers.
Thanks, Nayantara, for the invite. So first of all, let me just talk a little bit about the regulation that RBI has brought in. So till date, recurring payments in India weren't strictly allowed. We're a little bit in the gray area. And a lot of companies, due to that, couldn't really adopt it, right? And on the other hand, a lot of consumers really had a lot of problems because once you see recurring payments and recurring debits on the card, you don't know why it has happened or how it has happened and how to cancel it and prevent it from happening in the future, right? And this regulation exactly solves for that, right? So this gives asks the banks to give a portal to all the customers where they can check all the recurring payments that is registered on their cards, when the next charges will happen, of what amount, and they can cancel the recurring charges at any point in time. They can cancel the recurring mandates on their portal at any point in time. And that is what is happening now, right? So 1st October is the date from when banks are supposed to comply with the regulation, and they are supposed to give this portal to the consumers, from a recurring transaction perspective. And every merchant needs to take the consent of the consumer before initiating any recurring debits that are going to happen, right? And right now, a majority of the banks are still not compliant. They're trying to get through it. They're trying to, we provide a product which will help them out of the box, which will help them comply with the regulations and also give a much better experience to consumers on that part, right? So they're still in the process of going live with it, and that's why you would see a lot of SMS and emails telling you that recurring transactions will be stopped, and on certain sites your cards won't work for now.
So Shashank, explain it to the viewers who are tuning in at the moment. What does it really mean? Whether they have a Netflix account, whether it's a standing instruction to pay their mobile bill, whether it's a standing instruction to maybe contribute to their SIP, the SIP, how is it going to work? And do they have to do this monthly now?
Right. So on portals, whatever these portals are, be it Netflix or anything else, where you are doing these mandates specifically using your card, right? That would mean if the bank is compliant, then you need to do a transaction again. You need to do a one-time authentication, and then your charges will continue as is. And in fact, you'll get notification about any upcoming charges almost 24 hours before it happens, right? But for the banks which are not compliant, right now, yes, I think it will go into a mode where you'll have to do a one-time monthly payment in all of these portals if they're giving an option, or otherwise you can use UPI or any other such mechanism where recurring payments are supported.
But even for recurring payments on UPI, there has to be that added layer.
Yes, absolutely. You'll have to give a one-time, authentication and one-time approval for recurring debits to happen in future. But for today, majority of the banks, I think, are still in the process of going live. So that means for majority of consumers, they'll have to, in the short term, bear through the pain of as this transition happens.
So there will be basically a short-term disruption which may take place, a short-term inconvenience, should I call it, where this can take place. But what can be the benefit of this move?
So what this means is that there are 900 million debit cards in the country, and way more in number compared to the credit cards that are there, right? Now with this regulation, earlier debit cards weren't allowed on recurring payments. With this in place, now you can start using your debit cards for recurring transactions. This also gives regulatory support to the whole ecosystem, right? So a lot more businesses can start building subscription payments, subscription modules on top of the infrastructure. So, probably 5-6 months from now or a year from now, we expect a lot more businesses coming out with, recurring payment support, right? Any kind of membership programs, any kind of whatever annual payments they were taking, they can now break it down to monthly payments or quarterly payments, and it will be much more helpful on the pockets of the consumers as well. On the other side, now, if you look at like some of the developed countries, right? Like it's very easy to start a subscription, but when you have to cancel a subscription, you have to practically write to the media, write to the merchant via post or via support to cancel that subscription. And it's a very painful process. With this now, you can just go to the banking portal and then cancel that subscription at the click of a button, very, very easily, right? So this is a very consumer friendly move in the long term, right? And this will really give a huge boost to the subscription economy in the country and make the lives of consumers very easy.
And your technology, what is it going to do?
So absolutely. So, this regulation that is coming into place, right, obviously puts a lot of compliance burden on the banks that are there. The merchants need to, have the infrastructure available, and this whole portal that we are talking about that the consumers can use, right? So our product exactly sits in the middle of all these things. We help banks comply with the regulations. The portal, helps customers access all their mandates that are there, right? So you start seeing a lot of these portals that banks are providing, where consumers can go and check out all their mandates and get all the notifications about upcoming payments that are going to happen, right? And it allows the merchants also to integrate with that whole infrastructure and go live with recurring payments and subscriptions for all the supported banks in a very short amount of time. So in short, we are trying to take care of the pain points and needs of all the three stakeholders that are there, and do it at in a manner that it doesn't increase any kind of operational or regulatory burden on the banks or the merchants.
So Razorpay to the rescue. And with that, Shashank, I'd like to thank you for joining us here on ET Now. It's, of course, the big story of the day today is when the new regulations are going live.
Thank you, Nayantara. Thanks a lot.